Now to New South Wales, where a tiny village in the Hunter Valley is facing a diabolical dilemma. A mega coal mine wants to expand its open cut operations to within around 2 kilometres of the town's boundary. In return, it's offering locals 20 years of investment and more than 1,000 jobs. But there's a catch. Residents have been warned that the impact of such an expansion could make the town uninhabitable. And for many locals, the cost of economic prosperity is proving too high. Jackson Vernon reports from Bulga.
The tiny village of Bulga sprung up among the rolling plains in the New South Wales Hunter Valley almost 200 years ago, an area rich in prime farmland. And while the town boasts little more than a service station and a pub, it's also home to a gigantic supply of coal. The 300 or so locals have coexisted for decades with the mining industry, but the relationship is now at a tipping point.
I can assure you that there are not too many people, particularly those descendants of the early settlers, who would like to see Bulga interfered with.
4 kilometres northeast of Bulga is the Mount Thorley Warkworth mine. The owners, global giant Rio Tinto, need to expand or walk away from the more than 230 million tonnes of coal they hope to extract over the next 21 years. The company says the jobs of 1,300 employees and contractors are at stake.
Injected $154 million into the Upper Hunter community last year in direct expenditure. The mining industry in the Upper Hunter is facing some quite difficult economic conditions at the moment. Over the last 2 years there's been around 2,000 jobs that have been lost in the region, and so this project really is critical.
But it's not just the mining industry that's suffering. Susanna and Graham O'Brien moved to Bulga for a working retirement 15 years ago and have seen their investment dwindle.
If we had to sell this in a hurry because of whatever reason, we would find that very, very difficult. We've had it valued. It's been valued twice in our ownership, and the last valuation was $200,000 less than the one that was taken 4 years ago.
They've watched Rio Tinto buy up properties around the town over the past few years.
We had one family that lived over in Wombo Road. They were bought out by the mine. They didn't even tell anyone that they were leaving.
The Bulga locals have stopped the mine extension twice before, once in the Land and Environment Court and another in the Supreme Court. But new planning laws have meant that the rules of the game have changed.
You don't just say to a village of 200 years, move, get out of here. It's not on.
Tonight, locals are out in force to have their say on the expansion, which will bring the mine within just over 2 kilometres of the town. John Cray is the activist who's led the fight against the mine. Only 2 years ago, he was celebrating a landmark court victory.
The way these residents, our residents, have been treated by the state government is nothing short of scandalous. It is a denial of natural justice.
Locals are now agitated by a fresh proposal from Rio Tinto, which looks like going ahead based primarily on its economic merits. And the new laws mean locals have no right of reply. The state's planning authorities also admitted that the proximity of Rio's open pit mine will make it hard for locals to sell their homes. They've boldly suggested relocating the entire village, proposing brand new infrastructure and new homes be built elsewhere.
I think it would have a big impact in the sense of you just don't have that sense of belonging, and also you're being, told to move away from an area that you've dreamt about and bringing your children up, and they love the mountains.
Few know the history of Bulga better than Stuart Mitchell. As the local historian, he's become a custodian of the heritage-listed one-room church and its graveyard, both established in the mid-1850s. The sixth-generation local says without the connection to those who lived, worshipped and are buried here, Bulga will lose its identity. To him, the suggestion of moving the war graves and the commemoration of Bulga residents who have fought in every major conflict in Australia's history is unthinkable.
I can't see how anyone could possibly relocate it. If it was to happen, it'd have to be a new church built, and then we'd lose this heritage value of this church.
No one supports moving Bulga, not the company, not the community, and not the government. And in fact, the mine itself, the impacts on Bulga village are well within the acceptable limits that are set under government policy. So there's no justification for the village to be moved.
In a statement, Rio Tinto Managing Director Chris Salisbury says the company is not seeking to relocate the village of Bulga, and we are committed to working with community members to ensure there is a strong future for Bulga. But the suggestion alone, made by planning authorities, has been enough to rattle this proud community. And it's forced some mine workers to speak out for the first time, some who are now openly wondering if profits are being put before people.
I have got quite a few come up to me and said good on you for speaking your piece. A lot have agreed with me. I know there's a lot out there and you hear a lot of what's going on. I mean, I get called an for what I've done, speaking out against the extension. But like I say, I've got rights.
Chris Salisbury says the mine has been part of the Singleton community for more than 30 years, and the company is seeking approval to continue mining on land it owns and within existing mining leases. As miners debate the future of their own community, it seems the battle for Bulga has become a test of where the limits of economic expansion lie and what price can be put on a place and its identity.
So if it came down to it, you know, what's more important, your job or your home?
I want to fight for me home. Yeah, this is home. Bulga's home. And, you know, Bulga's been there for 200 years. You know, a mine is going to be around for a blink of an eyelid, really, in the big picture.
Jackson Vernon reporting from the Hunter Valley, and a final decision on the future of Bulga is expected later this year.